Hello, my name is Erica Andrade, and today I'll be talking about mental health illness and its importance in today's society. About 1 in 5 Americans experience some sort of mental illness symptoms throughout a year, and that equates to about 46.6 million adult Americans throughout the year. And we have to realize that mental illness is something important and serious. Most people often think, oh, it's something that you can just get over, or it's just a feeling of sadness. But most of these mental illnesses, like anxiety and depression, can lead to more serious problems like self harm or suicide. My little sister, who is currently in high school, experienced anxiety and panic attacks. And throughout the year, she would skip school because she would have too many panic attacks or she felt uncomfortable in the school environment. So we decided to talk to her, get her some help, make sure that she's comfortable in her classrooms and in her school. And the school was able to accommodate her to feel less anxious and to have less panic attacks. And as a result of her anxiety, she would often skip school or not go at all. And then she would get bad grades. So, through talking to her and by making sure that her anxiety wouldn't act up, and by asking the school for help and for her to get help herself, she was able to feel comfortable in school, get accommodated, and as a result of her feeling comfortable in her own classroom and feeling comfortable in the environment that she was able to get her better grades and get a better average in her classes, get better test scores, and she was able to focus more in class. This shows the importance of realizing that mental illness does affect people in their daily lives. That it's something that should be taken seriously and not something that should be brushed off. An example of the importance of realizing what mental illness can do is that mental illness can lead to individuals making unhealthy or unwise health decisions. An example can be found in a study by Lisa S. Meredith in the article Adolescents with Better Mental Health Have Less Problem with Alcohol Use 6 months later. And it was a study about teenagers who had alcohol problems and showed which teenagers would relapse. It was shown that teenagers who were more likely to go back to alcohol had a worse mental health case or had more mental health problems. And those without mental health problems or had less mental health problems like anxiety and depression were less likely to fall back into alcoholism. And this shows that when an individual is going through a mental health crisis, they're more likely to do unhealthy decisions like doing alcohol, doing drugs, and possibly any other narcotics. And they could also possibly start making decisions such as self-harm or worst case scenario, committing suicide or taking pills to commit suicide and other ways like that. Another reason that mental health is a big issue is that it can lead to a decrease in physical health. And by that, we can see that in a study created in an article called Depression in Older Age and Obesity, it is shown that middle-aged to older people were more likely to be obese if they had other mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. The results demonstrated that in those studies, the signs of having mental health disorders of anxiety and depression were more likely to be obese. So there is a correlation between physical health and mental health, that as a result of having, in this case, depression and anxiety, these older individuals were more obese. And we can see that our mental health is not something that should be played with. It's something that affects not only, our mental state, but it also affects our physical state, our healthiness in physical aspects, such as like being obese or other physical problems. But in this case, you can see that weight and factors like like overeating or undereating, are a direct cause of disorders like anxiety and depression. Because when you have anxiety and depression, you're more likely to either overeat, undereat, or not eat at all. And that affects your physical health, your cholesterol and stuff like that. And reason number three that mental health is important is that it can decrease an individual's ability to be productive or to contribute to society. And this can be seen in the article Mental Health in the Workplace, World Mental Health Day 2017. And it was written by Ramesh Navin. And in this article, they showed a study where they see how workers with mental health disorders were less likely to be productive in their workplace. And it said that the workers affected with mental illness cost the global economy $1 trillion per year due to lack of productivity. So when a worker has, or an employee has a mental disorder, they're more likely to be unproductive. And that's not to say that they're lazy or anything, but it's more to say that because of this disorder that they have, it's impeding them from being able to do the most capacity that they're able to do. It's almost like if you had a broken foot, you couldn't be able to go to work because of your broken foot. So like mental illnesses will prevent people from doing their work. And it's costing our society money. So it's important for employers to implement programs where they ensure that their workers are first healthy, second, that if they do have any mental disorders, that they have a treatment plan for it. Because in the end, it costs our society, our economy more money when our employees are with mental illnesses than they are with people with giving them the treatment that they need. And therefore, mental illnesses such as like anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and other stuff like that, it's important to realize that those mental disorders are important to be recognized in our society. And that it's not something to be ashamed of. Mental disorders is very common and it's very treatable. And without treatment, it's very likely to get worse. Just like my sister and possibly me, who I always get panic attacks. Doesn't mean it makes you weak. It doesn't make you weak. It's something that you should realize it's important to recognize, to get yourself treated if you do have it, and to see that in our society, it's important because it affects our physical health. It makes us do unwise decisions. And third of all, it affects our economy or society. It worsens it. And therefore, we should realize that we need to get these people help, and to make it an environment where it's acceptable to say that you have a mental health disorder or that you have an issue. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And that's why I believe that mental health disorders are important to be recognized not only in our society, but to be accepted in our society and in the medical field, and to be taken seriously by everyone.